Hello, and welcome to the Prince Armory Academy. In this video, we'll be crafting the scale armor panel, and I'll be sharing some advanced tips and time-saving tricks. This is from the Elven Armor series. This particular piece is meant to fill the void normally left between the breastplate and leg armor, but you could easily expand upon the design to make larger armor or to scale the armor up or down as you see fit. First, we need to cut out the scales. The Elven series has a lot of details and intricate cuts, and while it's definitely possible to cut each scale by hand, to save time and improve precision, I'll be using a laser cutter for this task. This video is sponsored by Algo Laser, and for this build, I'll be setting up and using their Alpha 22-watt laser engraver, and I'll share some more details about the device throughout the build. The device is packed very well and all the complicated bits are pre-assembled. The frames come together with a few screws on each end. There are a few connector wires to snap into place. There's one connecting rod to attach. And then the belts are tensioned. And after a few short minutes of setup, I'm ready to dive straight into the first test cuts. I'm taping down a small scrap piece of 5 to 6 ounce Weaver Select vegetable tan strap leather. I'll connect via USB. The device loads files quickly and it comes with a dual-core CPU, and I'll be using a software called Lightburn to connect the device to the computer and send it instructions. This program has a convenient test grid built in that you can run that will make a variety of cuts at different speeds and power levels, and this will eliminate the guesswork of finding the best cutting or engraving settings for whatever material you're working with. The test grid will range from 100% power at the bottom to 10% at the top, and from left being the slower speeds to fast on the right, and this will let you see at a glance which setting to pick for efficient cuts. And in this case it looks like 60% power and 10 mm per second speed would work. For a piece of leather which is a natural product, with variations throughout the hide, I like to play it safe and pick a power just a little bit above that. And I'll pick a depth of cut that looks right for what I'm going for the decorative lines here as well. Now I can cut out a test scale and see how the device performs. I was not expecting such precise and clean cuts from a lightweight device, and I'm surprised at the cutting capacity from a 22-watt laser, but it is marketed to punch above its weight, with technology to compress the laser beam, which can improve the performance by up to 40%. To make the full skirting panel, we'll need 51 scales, and one of the arrangements in the pack will fit 54, which has a few extra so you can test different techniques or in case you lose one along the way. The cutting area on this device is 400 by 400 millimeters, which is plenty of room for this project. Cutting leather makes a lot of smoke and has a sharp burnt odor. Obviously, wearing proper respiration and having plenty of ventilation is a must. And don't forget eye protection. The process overall was very fast and all the scales cut out perfectly. Next I need to cut out the backplate that the scales are attached to. The dimensions of the plate are just a little bit too big and will not cut out the full perimeter, but it will cut out nearly all of the holes, which is the main time-saving feature. I'll just have to punch the last hole at the bottom and cut out the perimeter manually. I'm using a lighter weight vegetable tan leather here, but you can also use a soft chrome tan leather, which will make the skirting more flexible, and that's what I normally use. last thing I'm cutting is an additional scale on an alternative material that I'll be using to make an embossing plate. This will save me a ton of time rather than tooling each piece by hand. If you're considering adding a laser cutter to your shop, the Algo Laser 22-watt Alpha Laser is a great budget option. I'll have affiliate links to their promotions in the description. I'm going to be using my 8-ton Mighty Wonder clicker press from Weaver Leather to make quick work of the embossing on each scale, but in the full video I'll demonstrate a number of options including how to do it by hand and with a cheaper press. If you'd like to learn how to make embossing plates like this, I'll be making a video lesson available in the Academy, and it will also be included in the Elven bundle. One side note here. You can shape and form the scales at this stage if you'd like to, while they're still easy to wet form, but I'm going to wait as it's easier to process the following steps with them all still flat. I'll be using leather dye as a color base for the scales. I like this particular shade of green dye that Angelus offers. To keep in the theme of saving time, I'll just quickly dunk each scale into the dye and set them to dry. I'm using Weaver's Tough Coat to finish the scales. This will seal and firm up the leather. And here too, I'm giving each scale a quick dip into the finish and setting it to dry. I don't want it to stick to the mesh tray, so I'll dab off any excess after a short bit and transfer them onto a clean surface to finish drying. I'll also dye the back panel in the same green. And instead of acrylic finish which would firm it up, I'm going to use neat's foot oil to saturate the leather and soften it a bit. I'm going to be painting each scale by hand. This will take some time, but I will use some shortcuts here. There will be an in-depth video guide on painting the Elven series, but I'll give you the highlights in case you want to emulate this look exactly. For the first stage, I'll just use a piece of sponge to quickly apply blocks of color. For the first layer, I'll be using Lumiere Metallic Olive Green by Jacquard. Just a light coat is fine here. For the second layer, I'll be using Lumiere Pearl Emerald Green. I'm going to tear off any straight edges of the sponge to help give it a more organic textured look. I'm dabbing off the excess paint to better control the texture. I'll focus the paint a little more heavily towards the center to give it a bit of a gradient look, but I don't want to completely cover the underlayer. This will give it a slightly more interesting look compared to just painting it one flat color. For the outer details, I'll be using Lumiere Metallic Bronze. For more control, I'll be using a brush and giving it a light coat. Then to add some antiquing, I'm going to make a wash, which basically just means I'm going to water down some black paint and I'll add a little bit of some shade of brown to give it a rustic tint. Then I'll spread it over any recessed areas and dab most of it off with a rag while trying to leave some texture behind. I'm trying to avoid paint on the center area so that it helps keep the middle bright and create a slight gradient look. Here's a scale that I formed before dyeing, but the rest are still flat, so we'll need to do a little bit of shaping next. This step is optional, but it will make everything look nicer. It may be more difficult at this stage if your dye and finish is completely dry, but we don't need much, and we can still force what we need. To form the scales, I'll be using this 3D printed forming dome, which I designed just for this type of occasion. There's a whole set of these at various shapes and sizes, with more on the way. Be sure to check out our recent video on this. To use the form, I'll just simply press the scale over it and give it a bit of a dome. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of shape to make it look more interesting when the light hits it. And for the outer details, just take each section and twist it up and out a little bit. This step is also optional, but I like the way it looks. One other embellishment I'm doing on this set is to add some of these metal studs. These require you to punch a couple of slots for the tabs to stick through. The easiest way to do that is with one of these adjustable prong tools, which you can also pick up from Weaver Leather Supply. One of the things I like to do with this tool is to smooth and polish the prongs, which will make them glide more easily in and out of the leather. For the final bit of inner trim, I'll be using a metallic silver paint pen from Molotov. The pen version makes quick work of the raised lines, and this brand has some of the brightest metallic effect I've seen. And now we can do the final assembly, which will be a breeze by comparison to the rest. I'll be using small double capped rivets and a matching rivet setter. I'm setting the scales facing the grain side. I'll start at the bottom and just work my way up. At the top row, the back panel will loop back on itself, and this will give you space to run a narrow belt through. I have a buckle strap guide and a couple of other more basic scale skirt tutorials if you want some instructions on making the small belt. If you'd like to build this for yourself and other components in this series, please check out PrinceArmoryAcademy.com and get the patterns or the discounted Elven Lord Full Suit Bundle, which is our premium advanced armor crafting series. Many of the tools and the materials used in these videos are provided by Weaver Leather Supply. Thanks again for their ongoing support in these tutorial videos. If you like this content and would like to see more, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Don't forget we have an active online community, so come join us on our Discord server if you'd like to come be a part of the conversation.